A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus took Peter, James, and John and led them up a high mountain apart by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. And his clothes became dazzling white, such as no fuller on earth could bleach them. Then Elijah appeared to them along with Moses, and they were conversing with Jesus. Then Peter said to Jesus in reply, "Rabbi, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He hardly knew what to say. They were so terrified. Then a cloud came, casting a shadow over them. From the cloud came a voice, "This is my beloved Son. Listen to him." Suddenly, looking around, they no longer saw anyone but Jesus alone with them. As they were coming down from the mountain, he charged them not to relate what they had seen to anyone, except when the Son of Man had risen from the dead. So they kept the matter to themselves, questioning what rising from the dead meant. The Gospel of the Lord. Last month, I stood on Mount Tabor in the Holy Land, the site of the Transfiguration. And yesterday morning, up on Heath Avenue, here in Oakdale, I also was witness to the Transfiguration. A man named Kevin, a parishioner, in his early 50s, husband and father of 2, was dying, and the family called for the last rites. And when I went over to their home on Heath Avenue, where he was in home hospice, the family, a beautiful, faith-filled family, was gathered around him. But also, around his bed in the family room on the first floor were photographs, pictures of his son, a talented college baseball player, pictures and medals and trophies of his daughter, a very talented volleyball player in her own right. Photographs of their family camping and fishing, all around that bed. And why were those photographs and mementos around his bed? I can't believe there's anyone here in church tonight who does not know exactly why they were there. In Kevin's darkest moments and great pain, he could look around to those images and photographs and find consolation and peace. Why did the Lord have the Transfiguration? It was not some stunt, something to amuse the apostles, give them something interesting. Jesus Christ appeared in his glory with the voice of the Father from heaven, so that these apostles would have something to remember, an indelible, unforgettable memory that would help them in their dark days. 2,000 years ago, it was a rather primitive state of affairs for cameras and cell phones and photography, but that didn't matter. The Lord gave them something they would never, ever forget. And when they came down off of that mountaintop, they would see this Lord brutally scourged and beaten, crowned with thorns and crucified. And in that moment, they needed to remember this Jesus and the Father who said, "Listen to him, for he is my beloved Son." They needed that image in front of them to keep on going. And keep on going they did. St. Peter in his first epistle, which would have been written years later, the first epistle of St. Peter, he talks about how he was on that holy mountain and he remembered it and would never forget it. And then, years later, when St. Peter was put to death, it happened in Rome. It happened during the great persecution of Nero the emperor. It happened in what they called Nero's circus, the horse track, at the bottom of a hill called the Vatican. St. Peter was crucified. But tradition tells us that St. Peter asked that he be crucified upside down. And over the centuries, the saints have said there were two reasons why St. Peter made that request. First of all, he said that he could not dare to presume to be like his Lord, that he could not be crucified in exactly the same way as Jesus Christ. And there is a second reason why the saint said he asked to be crucified upside down. The saints have said that as he was crucified upside down, he wished to be able to look up in that dark, dark moment, to look up, to see the one who had been transfigured on Mount Tabor, the glorified Jesus Christ, and in his terrible suffering and pain could say, "Lord, I am coming home to you. I'm coming back to you." Kevin Clardy died last night. But in his anguish and in his pain yesterday morning, as we administered the last rites and Holy Communion Viaticum, Kevin was able to look, and he did. He was conscious. Yesterday morning, Kevin could look around and see his loved ones and see these unforgettable images that brought him hope. I don't know all of you here in church tonight, but I know enough of you to know that there are many of you tonight who are carrying crosses. Crosses with your health, crosses with your family. And tonight on this great celebration of the Transfiguration, together with Kevin Clardy, together with St. Peter, together with every Christian in their darkest moments, look up and see Jesus. There is your hope. There is your consolation. That is what the Transfiguration is all about. Coming down off that mountaintop and going to the Mount of Calvary. And in that moment, looking up and seeing only Jesus.